We're going to jump right into this draft, guys. Reborn versus One More Wave. It does look like Reborn is going to have first ban here, and they're going to be banning out Decker.
Yes.
Not surprising.
So, obviously, the balance patch that came out on Tuesday overall nerfed in some level or another the top three heroes that we've seen for the qualifiers up until this point of Morgesh, FaZe, and Revenant. FaZe not being played the first weekend, but the last two she's been available for play. So I expect to see drafting change up moderately. However, Decker, even though her ultimate, her containment fence was changed a little bit, it's still one of the best team fight ultimates inside of the game. Bellica is a hero we did not really see touched at all, and those two heroes respectively, and consequently are being the first bans out here. Morgesh, she got some nerfs as well, but Reborn still putting a lot of priority onto her.
Yeah, One More Wave is also going to pick up Howitzer for, I'm assuming, their mid laner. Howitzer still just, we actually haven't seen a lot of Howitzer with the strength of Bellica and Morgesh and whatnot throughout the past couple weeks. It's been a lot of Bellica play is what we've seen. So Howitzer is going to be picked up here. They've got another pick. Are they going to go for their carry? No, it looks like they're going to go for a jungler, and they're going to pick up Rampage, which means that leaves Sevarog open for Leo Grande, which is scary. Scary jungler right there. So Reborn Shane, they've got Revenant and Narbash. They've picked up the two heroes that I actually didn't think. I was curious to see how their nerfs would play out for the competitive scene, and right away, Morgesh Revenant on the side of Reborn. It's already looking like a scary draft for these guys.
It's Morgesh Revenant, but there's a very obvious lack of FaZe from Reborn, who actually prioritized Narbash over FaZe. I think FaZe received the broadest amount of changes to her, nerfs specifically, with the most recent patch, and that obviously indirectly buffed the other supports, Narbash, Muriel, and other heroes that we've seen played in that support role previously. So this is interesting. I knew FaZe was changed, but I wasn't expecting Narbash to be picked up for her. Reborn very clearly have a strategy in mind surrounding this, and there's always been the problem with FaZe, even when she was prior to her nerfs, was she doesn't have any hard CC. Narbash, she brings the CC to the table, not only through Crash Bang Boom, but through Thunk. So there's the last picks there, and another hero that was changed, situationally improved, situationally nerfed, of Gideon. And Solo Nazgul, he's always had a lot to say about Gideon. It's going to be interesting to see if he's playing that role, or if this is an offlane Gideon with a mid Morgesh. I doubt that. It's more than likely offlane Morgesh with mid Gideon. But still, the last time we've seen Reborn run Gideon, I want to say it's been well over a year.
It's been a while since we've seen Solo Nazgul on Gideon. One More Wave has picked up Twin Blast and Kwang, their last pick. I mean, it's FaZe or Muriel at this point. I don't think Muriel is strong enough, so they are going to pick up the FaZe. They do have the CC from the Rampage Boulder to deal with Gideon's Black Hole, so they have a way to deal with that that ultimate. They have to prioritize that stun, though, on that Black Hole, or we're just going to let Solo Nazgul free cast, and that is never something.
The Howitzer mind as well, and always the strength of Make It Rain, utilizing that on top of Gideon when Gideon is using his Black Hole. It forces Gideon to make a decision. Do I want to sit inside of the Make It Rain, or do I want to cancel this ultimate? So Howitzer also a very strong tool at being able to deal with Gideon, not only with the ability to interrupt it with Knockout Mine, but also the Make It Rain, pretty much saying if you're going to sit there, you're going to take all the full barrage of all these missiles raining down upon you. Sevarog being picked over Grux, though, that's something I wanted to talk about early on in the draft here. Notch. Grux, the very first weekend and the few PCLs before that, Grux was the go-to jungler. Grux really hasn't received any changes. In fact, he actually received a small buff a few patches ago with Smash and Grab having its cast time decreased, rather, with it casting quicker. Sevarog, I think people are obviously teams are just starting to favor him more. The thing about Sevarog is that his late game, out of all the junglers, he goes into the late game better than almost any other bruiser, if you will, in the game currently, with the way he scales with Soul Siphon and just the way that hero scales and his ability to certain cards. So
yeah, it comes down to his builds and his scaling. Matspore Sash is nasty. Plus, like you said, Soul Siphon there, you can deal quite a bit of damage with that, and you become one of the most tanky front lines in the game. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these teams play out. Shane, I'm excited. Let's jump right in to this game. Reborn versus One More Wave. Shane, you get to pick the team. Introduce who you want to introduce, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This weekend will determine the two North American teams that are going to be flying to Epic for the first ever Paragon exhibition event. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited. I know you're excited. And no one is more excited than these players. Over on blue is going to be Nadasic playing Revenant, Solo Nazgul, SNZ on Gideon, Reflect on Morgesh, J. Leo Grande picking up that Jungle Severog, and Master Splinter picking up the Narbash.
We've got Obamacare on Twin Blast, Edok on Rampage, Squishy Flap on FaZe, Sour on Kwong, and Azzy Bear is going to be playing mid lane on that very toned down Master Skin Howitzer. That is one more wave, guys. Shane, first matchup of the day. Again, we talked about it in the beginning. We've got Reborn, who's the powerhouse of the PCL, and One More Wave, who is a considerably new team. What does One More Wave have to do to beat Reborn?
Reborn is a team that just has a fairly consistent sort of game style. And I think the big thing here, any team to beating Reborn, is you cannot play too passive against them, or they will find a way to out-farm you. They will find a way to outmaneuver you. In any way, Reborn is capable of finding the smallest of chinks inside of their opponent's armor. So I think it's going to come down to consistent play, but more importantly is decisiveness. I want to see decisiveness out of them. Any opportunity that presents in front of them, they need to capitalize on it. If they don't, Reborn will capitalize sooner and will come back stronger.
Reflect was getting a little bit aggressive in this lane over here. He was trying to get that farm. They were freezing it up. Squishy Flap and Obamacare actually attacked, got him down to about 50% HP, and he backed off to go restore that health and mana. One of the changes with Morgesh was she now uses a little bit more mana in the start. We're not just going to see her spam those abilities. It's going to be
mid
coming
lane.
out.
Azzy Bear was getting aggressive on a Nazgul. J. Leo Grande, shortly after picking up the green buff, was in the area, rotated over, and picked up a first blood onto a over-eager Howitzer. Nazgul was losing the 1v1, but J. Leo Grande rotates in J. Leo Grande style and gets the first kill of the series.
So 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the game, there's already a kill down. Leo Grande's picking up these, continuing to farm this jungle. He's very aggressive when it comes to his rotations, Shane. He will always look for a gank in the mid lane to help out Solo Nazgul, who is one of the more aggressive solo laners, or mid laners we've seen in PCL and in competitive play. He likes to keep that lane pushed far forward. He likes to be in your face. Sometimes he can get caught out for that, but he always has Leo there who has his back and can keep him safe. So as we look at this match, Shane, we look at the way these teams play. Reborn, again, very aggressive. Like you said, One More Wave, they have to be decisive. They have to make, if they're going to go for a gank, they need to compete. They need to 100% commit to that gank. They have to make sure they're picking up these kills.
And that's exactly what they're doing right now. A little bit of foreshadowing coming out of your notch as J. Leo and Master Splinter rotate over and pick up yet another first kill. Is actually Kwong Sour Dash, who was eyeing down Nazgul in the mid lane, maybe to find a pickup, but the counter rotate and the heads up and the game sense coming out from Reborn grants them yet another kill. Master Splinter, he's always been one of the most proactive supports in the early stages of the game out of any North American player. And you see right there, Master Splinter, if that was that rotate wasn't there, that wouldn't have been the kill. So big, good, just expected rotations coming out of Narbash. And a big thing about Narbash is early game out of all the supports, he's one of the best supports at helping assist picking up ganks.
Yeah, you just got to rotate and make sure you're there. That thunk is really important. Solo Nazgul is going to get knocked back with that landmine, taking R2000 to the face. He's going to get under that tier 1 tower. He should be safe here. J. Leo's already picked up his Mad Spore Sash, Shane, trying to give him that extra clear and, of course, extra damage when he goes in to look for those ganks.
So Solo Nazgul on Gideon, a hero we haven't seen very much of, especially on Reborn. What was changed with him recently was that for the ultimate of Gideon, Black Hole, they took away the initial pull. When you used to cast it, it had a pretty strong pull that would keep you inside of the middle of that. That no longer exists. Instead, they did a rebalance, I think is the best way of putting it. That pull no longer exists. However, the high-frequency route on it, or a slow on it, rather, was buffed from 350 to 450. To give you some context for you legacy players out there, that's about travel mode. Is the converse to travel mode. Reflect in trouble. Big 4-man rotate. There's a lot of resources being dedicated over to this. They're going to pick up the offlane tower. They're going to pick up Reflect as well. But it's quite a bit of resources dedicated to the side of the map. Nadasic still farming freely. Solo Nazgul still getting solo experience in the mid lane. And I was going to say they have to be expecting more. Putting this many resources into a 5-minute gank in the offlane, you would want them to continue to make a big push here. And that's what they're doing. They have a siege, 2 siege minions actually here. This is a very, very concerted push here. They had a strategy based around the 2 siege minion on this side of the map. They're going to get that tier 2 down to about 230 HP. But Reborn, they rotate quickly and are able to defend their tier 2 towers. They want to keep their jump pads up.
Yeah, good rotation on Reborn. 5 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. Jump pads are important early, guys. Those help you get back to the lane, help you get that farm, and they want to make sure those stay up. They do know that NATO Sick is just going to sit over here and free farm because everybody's in the off lane trying to push down to tier 2. So he's just going to sit here and free farm. He's pushing up to that tier 1 tower. Their tier 1 tower is still up. He does have 1 siege minion with him. Sour is here to protect that. I don't know if this tower is going to fall. It should, but with those 4 shots in that reload, it makes the pushing potential of Revenant not as strong as some of the other Marauders in the game.
And Kwong is just a very well-rounded offlaner. He's going to take a thunk, a little bit of harassment damage. Really no kill potential there with the minions being around. You can tell NATO is just trying to focus down that tower. Sour, laning against a Revenant as an offlaner, it's always just making sure you are near your creep wave, especially once Revenant hits 6 and 8.
Leo getting aggressive again here, Shane.
Up, and yep, they're continuing to just look for pickoffs in early stages of the game. Uses the Colossal Blow into the subjugate. This should be another straightforward kill. Master Splinter securing that with the thunk. A little bit of early game card experience being infused into your support. That's actually very important. Help you get the Quenching Scales online, and very important early game cards for your support, who later on will inevitably be starved. Reflect, other side of the field, putting pressure in that right lane, and Nazgul in the mid lane under a lot of duress. This tower is going to be falling very quickly. And right now, it looks like the early game strategy coming out of Wave is simply group up early and start pushing down these tier 1 towers before the 10-minute mark.
So we've seen this happen to Reborn in the past, where everybody would push their towers out. They'd get aggressive on Reborn, and they'd have this super aggressive play style to where they'd push all tier 1 towers down. They'd look for ganks in the jungle. They try to deny them farm. But one of the things Reborn is great at is freezing minion waves underneath their tower. And they would sit there for about 5 to 7 minutes. They would just farm back up, and they would just choke off the card experience for the enemy team by the way they freeze their lanes. And then you would see a group up and push. If one more wave wants to be this aggressive, if they want to push these towers, they have to continue this aggression. They have to look for those picks. They have to, with Rampage, dive towers and try to pick up kills to make sure they're getting more objectives. Because just allowing Reborn to farm, you're going to put yourself behind when it comes to card power. And once Reborn groups and decides that they want to end the game, that's exactly what they'll do.
Reborn, there's this odd paradox with them where they seem, I don't want to say comfortable, but playing from behind is something they're not unfamiliar with. Their mid game and their late game is where they excel. Their early game is solid, don't get me wrong, but there's situations sometimes where they may fall behind due to a series of simple mistakes, and they always seem to make a big comeback in the later stage of the mid game. With that being said, if Reborn is able to establish a strong, dominating early game, then they will even more so feel very, very good transitioning into the 15 to 20-minute mark. They've been scrimming, they've been practicing, and very clearly their early game has been cleaned up on a level we have not yet seen out of the Straight Out of Agora boys. Rampage, level 5, looking for the ultimate, using that boulder on the Master Splinter, who is not level 5 himself. Obamacare is going to pick up the first carry kill for him on the side of the field. And now Jay Legrande might be in some trouble here, especially with Azir rotating. Wave has done a good job of grouping up and really finding kills. Nadosic came in from behind and was able to use his ultimate to get a solo kill onto FaZe. Ultimately, it is a relatively even exchange, favoring that of Wave, with the Obamacare picking up the kill and them getting Leo Grande as well. Nato, though, with that Revenant, it's not that bad of a situation, because that extra card experience boost that he got by picking off that FaZe, casually walking in, casually walking out. So with that being said, economically, I wouldn't be too upset if I'm on the side of Reborn.
Yeah, that's one of the strengths of Reckoning. He isolated a target. He was able to push that target away from everybody, pick up the kill, and like you said, just walk out. Solo Nazgul rotated over there to give him a teleport away, and now he spent that card power. But it's such a strong ability when you want to pick a target. And FaZe should be the target he picks in the early stages. We'll see that, I think, switch as we get into the late game. And if he can get that card power advantage, switch over to Obamacare and try to take out that carry.
Taking a look over at Solo Nazgul, who is no stranger to building what others would consider a little bit off of the meta, but right now it looks like it is meta here at the 10-minute mark for him. Picking up the ward, of course, but the Shadow Scroll, very, very strong on Gideon. Obviously, it's just pretty much pure damage. There's no other utility on Shadow Scroll. It is just I'm here to do damage, as much damage as I possibly can. Over to the Raptors, they rotated. The moment they saw that wave was out of position, they immediately rotate in. And Leo Grande, off the heels of the Subjugate, immediately isolate FaZe and take her out. There's the proverb, I believe it goes this way, Notch. If FaZe is there, kill her and win. And that is the proverb that is fueling Reborn's success thus far in this game. FaZe already having 2 deaths this early on and just getting isolated and caught out of position. And now a little bit of zone and control for Reborn as they zone out for the Raptors. NATO's picked up one, but here comes the invasion. 4-man 5 coming out of wave, looking to bounce back. But Shola Nazgul, the first black hole of the game. Big value here. They don't have any way to interrupt it except killing him, which they are able to do. Everyone on the side wave is so slow. Leo Grande swings the hammer once, make it twice, gets the kill, dashes out. A 2-for-2 exchange. Don't forget, this was a 4v4 engagement for Wave as they went in without their support and were actually still able to pick up some kills, but nonetheless, that's going to favor Reborn. NATO was able to pick up a kill. Obamacare gets taken out, and they clean up the Raptors.
Sola Nazgul waited for that boulder to come out. The boulder was used on the reflect. The moment the boulder landed on reflect, Sola Nazgul came in with that black hole, got 3 people into it. Right before he died, he did land... he did land a Cosmic Rift on top of 2, which allowed Leo to come in and clean up Obamacare there. So really good gameplay out of Reflect, like you said, picking up kills. And then they unfortunately didn't get to clean up the Raptors. They are getting the Raptors. It does look like one more wave is going to pick those up. So Obamacare does get 2 of the 3 Raptors. One of the 3 Raptors, Azibear took one just for good measure. He said, hey, I lived the last one. This round's mine. And he picked up that Raptor.
If you take a look at the numbers here, we're almost at the baker's dozen, and Azzy is actually currently the Howitzer player, the most farm member of Wave, which is something you don't see very too often. Obamacare has been very proactive on the map, but it's actually Azzy who's been using that R2000 rocket from downtown to pick up the kills. And that's why he has a lot of that card experience. And one of the big things about Howitzer is he really can transition into a semi-carry sort of role. Mid-game is where he thrives, but you can never underestimate the damage of R2000 rocket and make it rain in the late game. Howitzer's DPS potential out of all the mid laners is one of the highest, if not the highest. So getting a Howitzer farmed and ahead actually has very grand sweeping implications later on in the game.
So Obamacare sitting at 18, NATO 6 sitting at 20. Off laners here, Sour at 15, Reflect sitting at 15. We've got Radiant Mantles online. We've got Mad Spore Sashes online. Those in a team fight, you don't want to underestimate that power, especially when it comes to someone who's going to engage and initiate. It's just additional damage, basically hitting everybody that's near those front lines. So that's going to be something you want to watch out for as a late game, especially on Leo Grande, who's going to have, like we said earlier, looking at his farm, I just went and looked. He's sitting at 50, a little bit over 50 stacks right now because he's got those shoulders on. But the damage from Siphon, the damage coming out of Subjugate, the damage out of Mad Spore Sash, you're not just going to be able to ignore him. You're going to either have to CC him. You're going to have to get him away from your back line because he's just going to be devastating if he latches onto Obamacare or Squishy Flaps.
And I think that's why we saw him picked up. Is he's the almost inverse to Crux, where his early game is maybe not necessarily be the strongest, but that late game dominance that he's able to bring to the table, especially against a draft where they don't really have that much peel outside. At least coming from their support, other than the blind, which when it comes to Sever, if you land that Subjugate, you can be blounded all you want. All you got to do is hit that Colossal Blow on the Soul Siphon, and FaZe is going to get torn apart right here. NATO Sick on Revenant. They're really, I mean, I'm a little bit concerned for NATO Sick in the later stages of the game, just because there is a lot of long-range poke and harass inside of team fights. Even if Wave doesn't get a good latch onto NATO Sick in the backline, they still have grenade spam coming out from Obamacare. They still have the R2000 rocket that comes out of Howitzer, and of course the boulder from a Rampage. So NATO Sick's positioning, while he's always been great at positioning himself at the right place and being where he needs to be at the right time, I'm still very concerned. Even with him playing as well as he normally does, he really has to be on point with his positioning and respect the long-ranged pickoff potential that Wave has on their side with those aforementioned heroes.
Really good play in the mid lane here. They were waiting for Azibear to go for that river buff. He got thunked. He got subjugated. He got scarred, he got obliterated, and he got blown the frick up, and he's down in the mid lane. They just waited, like River Off spawning, peek out, and they were able to take him off. They should make a push here at this tier 1 tower in the mid lane. There's a rotation coming from one more wave. Are they going to be able to defend this with 4 here?
It's Reborn who now are pulling the trigger on pushing down tier 1 towers a little bit later than that of their opponent. It's going to be a Rampage who gets thunked up, but that's just more of a zoning thunk. He's going to be able to escape just fine in the tier 1 tower. For the Dusk team, falling now here. Raptors won't be spawning for a couple more minutes, so it's into the jungle for Reborn. Looking for opportunities, looking for kills. NATO just around the corner is out by himself. Leo Grande is going to uncharacteristically miss that subjugate, but immediately knock 2 people up, and their crash bang boom went off, but it's the black hole is going to be putting the nail in the coffin here as Nazgo's getting all the value. They just can't seem to get themselves out of it. Master Splinter went down early on, but he did his job. He set up the team fight, and right now Reborn are looking for more as Obamacare is trying to get out of Danger's way, but Danger is the entire roster of Reborn, and they continue down the charge. Actually, in between the inhibitor, we hear the curse from Morigesh. That is a fearful sound, and everyone gets taken out. A triple on top of it, and Reborn make a resounding statement here in the first big fight of this series. Take it dominantly, gonna take the green buff, and now this game is in their hands.
Really good value out of that black hole. Solar Nazgul hit everybody. They picked up a kill with it. NATO Sick is going to get a triple kill. They're going to deny them this farm. Leo Grande is going to deny the green buff. They're going to get back to these lanes. They're going to reset these lanes, go back and use all of that card power. NATO Sick at 29 card power, Shane. He's 4-0-5 right now. Obamacare is not too far behind with 24, but if you continue to allow NATO Sick to free farm and basically do what he's doing, this is going to be a nasty game. Especially when he just reckons a target and decides, hey, this is the target I want dead. He's going to be able to.
He reckons them.
He reckons them. He's just going to reckon them.
Is NATO from like the deep south? He's like,
yeah,
boy, I reckon.
I reckon his target's about to die.
That's a tier 3 skin if I ever heard one right there. Epic, you can see the royalties to Nachanai. And your
overalls, corncob pipe, straw hat. I reckon this hero's about to die. That's the voice line. I'll do it. Epic. You guys know what's up.
And we even have your VO right here. I mean,
right
come
there.
on. What else could you possibly want? Is a all-in-one coming out right there. This so far, Reborn, man, they have just been in full control of this game. Wave, you could tell early on they had a strategy. They had a very concrete strategy of we're going to push down the tier 1 towers very early on. We're going to group very early on. Reborn really didn't have a hard response to it as they were losing their tier 1 towers, but losing those tier 1 towers and then really not losing anything else after that, not a big deal. So they were able to follow up on that objective the first 5 to 10 minutes, wave that is. However, it seems like after that, they seem to have been at a loss since then. They made that tier 2 push, very early tier 2 push, with the double siege minions, with the 4-man group up after picking up a kill on Reflect. But it's so hard to take down those tier 1 towers that early on that Reborn sent just a small gang of people over there to defend it. They were able to defend it with ease. And ever since that moment, it seems they just seem like they don't have a discernible point of contention. They just sort of been playing actively instead of proactively. And this is what we want to see coming out of them, is a little bit more activity on the map, and that's exactly what they're doing. J. Leo Grande is going to be isolated here. He used the Colossal Blow onto Rampage, hoping that he was going to take the tower damage and maybe find kill potential there, but Rampage picked out by FaZe into safety as well as leaping away. So they pick up a kill on J. Leo Grande. This is what we want to see. We haven't seen presence out of them. This is a presence. They're making their plays. What can they do now? There's no Raptors to be taken. NATO Sick is free farm near their side of the map. Waves are pushed against them. It's this moment that is going to define them if they're able to find a path to victory inside of this game number 1.
Do they make a big play and go for Orb Prime? Do they look for another pick? Their Master Splinter's here. I don't know if Boulder is going to miss. He is going to get rooted up, but he's behind the safety of that wall there, so he's going to get away. So make a push. I would have loved to see the big play and then try to make a play at Orb Prime, but I think they're just health and mana. Ultimate's being used. They made the right decision. They're just going to go back to farming lanes. The one thing I will say is they need to put a little more pressure on NATO Sick, and they need to put a little more pressure onto Reflect. Reflect's basically just been able to free farm. Morigesh is a hero that, yes, she was changed, but if you allow her to free farm, she's just going to be able to come in and clean up. She's going to find a target that's low. She's going to mark Hive and curse them. And there's not going to really be anything you can do about that. Of course, there are cards like Stasis Gem and Honor the Pure. Stasis Gem did see a little tweak. It went from a 5-cost card to a 6-cost card, and it had the cooldown increased from 45 to 60 seconds with this last patch. So, I mean, there are ways to deal with it, but it's just letting her free farm like this is not going to be a good idea.
Agreed. Yes, she's been nerfed, but she still does exactly what she did before, and that is just be consistent damage and the end of a team fight. Really be able to swing a team fight into your hands if it wasn't already going your way. Obviously, with the curse and the hive damage, man, you can't underestimate the damage from hive, especially if you get it on 3-4 people. It with the thick blood on top of it, really negating FaZe's big strength of having the heals available to her. Just a very point I'm trying to make here. Morgesh still pretty good, guys. Still pretty good hero.
Pretty good. So we're 20 minutes into the game. Let's take a look at these builds. We've got a couple quenching scales online. Honor the Pure online for Reborn. There is a Thick Blood online from Reflect to deal with that healing from FaZe and also the regen of Rampage. The same thing we're seeing on the other side. Madspore Sash, Radiant Mantles. We've got a Stasis Gem. Now Honor the Pure is on the side of One More Wave, but your Thick Bloods are there. I expect to see a Tainted Magic soon coming out of Reflect. Or Solo Nazgul. It's going to be interesting to see if he runs Nanoplasm and Tainted Magic, because there's not really... There is a way to deal with his black hole, but he's been using it effectively.
Yes.
Tainted Magic onto 4 or 5 people, plus him getting the heal from Nanoplasm. Going to be interesting to see if those are cards Solo Nazgul runs in his Gideon deck.
And as we've said, he's not afraid to... He's always been a fan of those cards that aren't just pure stats. He likes picking up utility. We actually used to see him run Honor the Pure Bellica when Monolith first came out. We've seen him run these sort of off-meta sort of builds on those mid laners. So don't be surprised if we do see something like that. Speaking of Solo Nazgul's getting played thus far, he's been playing great. He's been getting 2, 3, even sometimes 4-man black holes off, getting long durations of it off, a lot of value. Now, the black holes...
Are they going for Orb Prime Shade?
I believe they are. They are feeling good here. They know they have the lead. This might be a bait, but they have to be careful because the amount of damage that's getting done onto their team. Zone control is the name of the game here for Reborn if they want to find success in this, because this is an area you don't really like taking a fight, especially against Howitzer, and especially up against the strength of the Kwong ultimate as he goes inside. Leo Grande so low, but Gate just can't seem to finish him. Master Splinter used the Crash Bang Boom right between that choke point, but Nadosic is able to isolate Rampage, and there goes Nazgul! Once again with the black hole, he's pulled him in using the power of physics. It was a short duration, but the duration didn't matter. It was what it got done. Isolated Twin Blast, isolated Obamacare, and sent him to the doctor. He got taken out easy right there from Reborn, especially considering J. Leo Grande was at about 50% HP when that fight first started and was still tanking the Orb Prime when it occurred. Oh, Nazgul might be in a little bit of trouble. Maybe his eye's getting bigger than his stomach there. And actually, it's going to be Master Splinter. They pick up yet another kill right there. So beautifully done. I thought the aggression was over. So did Wave, but Reborn said, just watch and wait. We'll still hear obliterate. Not enough damage. Reflect looking for a little bit more. One more auto attack. Is there enough mana for a Cosmic Rift? There is not. Squishy's going to be able to go away. But still, Reborn once again, beautifully played. Reborn did not have a front line in that team fight. J. Leo Grande was not allowed, nor was he in a place to tank any damage or bring anything to that team fight, but they still come out ahead. They still come out healthy enough to where they're going to try to pick up the first Orb Prime of the game. They have to be careful. Sour's in the vicinity, looking for an ultimate, and maybe even looking for a steal. Fury of the Heavens was used in that early on of the team fight. If his ultimate is going to be up, it's going to be up right as this Orb Prime is about to die. Master Splinter, he's sitting there with a thunk. I love it. If he sees a cast go down from Sour, he wants to make sure he interrupts it. Wave, while they did lose the fight, they are able to deter Reborn from picking up the Orb Prime. A moment of stabilization for them.
24 minutes. Death timers are not that long at this point, so after they respawn, everybody instantly headed over that way. Kwong throwing down the Judgment of the Heavens. Light of the Heavens could have stole that. That's why he was kind of hanging out in that area, just waiting. Hey, if I have to, I'm going to right mouse button this, and I'm going to try and take that from you. He's going to have to Reflect here. Ultimate's not online. He's going to get the tether. But Reflect is dealing so much damage onto Sour right now that Sour has to run away. There's going to be another mark down to 50% health for Sour. The chase is happening. Reflect is going to get this kill.
The Quenching Scales.
Quenching Scales saved his life.
Over at the Raptors, big fight going down. Man, Obamacare's so very low, and he is going to get taken out. There's a big fight going on over there, and Obamacare got caught out. Solo Nazgul is a low one, but he's going to be able to torn space away. and be perfectly fine. Rampage has no ultimate at this point in the game. Looking for Solo Nazgul, try to use the boulder, but NATO comes in. It's actually Master Splinter who takes it up for his buddy. He's protecting his carry, or he's protecting his mid laner. He's protecting everyone at this point. And now it's Master Splinter with the drums leading the charge as Leo Grande continues to go in. Not much mana, but there is an Obliterate. She's isolated, and down goes FaZe as well. Quickly Reborn get taken out. Sour shows up to the party, but it's a little bit too late. Punctuality is what he needs. If he showed up in that fight a little bit earlier, he could have capitalized on something, but not the case. He forced Sour back, and all the meanwhile, Reflect is continuing to push down this tier 2 tower. Reborn can fall back to the Raptors, and Reborn continue playing in Reborn, the style of Reborn that we've come to see, we've come to love. Just consistent play and always capitalizing on opportunities. Hyper-aggression is not really their forte. It's just consistency, capitalizing on pickoffs, and slowly building a lead until a tipping point.
Yeah, I just have to point it out because it's one of those things I always watch it out there. Solo Nazgul actually got hit with an R2000, and he lived with 8 health. Shade.
Oh, the Ocho. The Ocho.
He was behind the shadow wall. The ender of dreams, as Nate Holmes calls it, does land on Solo Nazgul. 8 health is what he got out with. So close. Just one more card power, and that would have been the death of Solo Nazgul. But like you said, it's calculated aggression, Shane. They come in, and what they look at is where can we find a pick? Once we find this pick, what can we get off of this pick? Is it going to be the Orb Prime? Is it going to be Raptors? Is it going to be a tower? That's the way Reborn has always played. I gave Leo a crap for a long time. I would say he feeds. And if Leo dies, he dies with a purpose. He's feeding for a reason.
Tactically feeds, yes.
Yeah,
I feel like the term tactically feeding, J. Leo Grande like pioneered that term. He's always done it really, really well.
I say if he dies, because he's 7-2-10 right now. That first Orb Prime engagement, he got down again pretty low and was able to get out. But these guys are Reborn is such a good team. They're going for this Orb Prime again. It just feels like another bait to me.
It does. It's these choke points. They want them to come down to these choke points and look for Nazgul to get a black hole. Master Splinter uses the Crash Bang Boom. Nazgul sitting on the high ground as he bears isolate. It just gets blown up and destroyed. He had some health, and all of a sudden he gets taken out. There's the black hole being used onto Sour, trying to take down the front liners as NATO Sick who actually picks up the kill over there. But they were able to pick up Rampage and the Quang inside of the black hole, which isolated Twin Blast. There was such a beautiful... That team fight was so nuanced, and so much was happening so quickly. Reborn are playing on a level that I think even we are surprised by coming out of them thus far. 4 more easy kills. They really seem to have refined this bait and switch strategy where they appear to be taking the Orb Prime. They force their opponent into awkward position with these choke points surrounding the Orb Prime, and then they capitalize. This time, though, first Prime card activation of the game. Tier 2 towers are surely to fall. The question here in this situation, how are we going to keep our inhibitors alive?
I mean, can you keep your inhibitors alive at this point? They still have people down. Yes, they're going to respawn when inhibitors are up, but the push, the lead, the power coming out of our Prime card, I don't know if they have the lane clear to keep this inhibitor up in the mid lane.
Going back to that team fight, I want to talk about a little more because it was absolutely beautiful what they did there from Reborn, the positioning. Nazgul waited and waited and waited and waited, and the moment that both Rampage and Quang were able to get inside of a black hole, as they try to rotate over to Obamacare to protect him, that's when Nazgul swept in to keep them snared up with that 450 snare, that extra
pull is
control
strong.
that comes out of him. That pull is so strong. And then at that point, Twin Blast, there was nothing that they could do to help out Twin Blast. Leo Grande was latched onto him. NATO was shooting him down with that big pistol of his on Revenant, and that pretty much won them the fight. That black hole, even though it didn't do that much damage per se, they are using it for the control aspect of it, which that is the aspect that was buffed. And we just have not seen this sort of Gideon play, and I think it's just because we haven't seen Gideon being able to use it in this way up until this most recent patch. Into the inhibitor they go. They are going to use the black hole once again, and this is the damage black hole right there. Who cares about the snare? Forces out the stasis gem, but at that point, you're just delaying the inevitable. The left inhibitor has fallen. Reflect picks up the kill on the Quang, and Reborn are putting themselves in a position right now to take game number 1. They can use the Prime card to heal back up. Mid lane is not really siegeable. Neither is left lane. So they're not going to be able to find any more inhibitors here because of that, but they still picked up a very, very important objective.
Yeah, Solo Nazgul's got to back off. The tier 2 tower is going to fall, but you don't want to allow that to do damage to your inhibitor. So they do pick up, again, they pick up an inhibitor. They get 2 more kills off of it. The damage coming out of the black hole with Tainted Magic and Orb Prime online. is disgusting. And everybody's like, ah, run! We don't have any ways to we don't have any ways to stun this because Boulder's already been used. He was too high for the landmine to knock him out of it, so everybody just tries to escape and live. You know, Shane, we're 30 minutes and 15 seconds into this game. We're seeing Reborn, like you said, play like we haven't seen them play before. They're just on point right now. A lot of this, I'm going to say, comes down to $15,000, Shane.
Oh, baby cha-ching.
I mean, that's not something to just bat eyes at. Like, hello, I'll take it. Send it my way. And that's exactly what these guys want. They want a chance to get to Epic Headquarters. They want a chance to become the champions of the first ever Epic event. And that's what these guys are playing for. Reborn, Leo Grande and his team, they've been here since the beginning. And they want to prove that they're the best. And that's the goal right now in their mind. How do we prove we're the best? And it's get through this team, beat them, I mean, in style, because that's what they're doing right now, and move on to the next game.
One more wave. I feel like their name is a metaphor for being resilient thus far. Yes, they've been behind, but they really have. They're not getting absolutely walked over right now. They're contending objectives. They're trying to do what they can. As I say that, Kwon gets taken out of the other side of the field just by a gank set up by the Shadow Plane buff picked up by J. Leo Grande here. But their rotations have been there. They know what Reborn has been doing. They've always had a response to what Reborn is doing. The issue is their response just simply has not been good enough. The team fighting has always favored Reborn. Reborn's positioning is what is excelling currently, not necessarily their ability to outthink their opponents, because Wave has always been there to defend the objective that is under pressure, whether it be the Orb Primer, whether it be the Raptors. This game has come down to team fighting, and that is what Reborn has been doing better than their opponent. 31 minutes now, 32 minutes into this game. Now, both inhibitors are about to be under siege. Yes, left lane is pushed out to the line of scrimmage, but that means by the time that wave shows up to one wave's base, that means it's going to be a massive wave that they're going to have to send one, potentially even two people to, and that's an opportunity Reborn could use to end the game.
Yeah, we've seen Reborn do this in the past. They apply pressure in both the mid lane and the safe lane or offline, depending where the inhibitor is down, and allow that wave to build up. That way, when they take an engagement, they have a massive wave at the front door, and they can end up winning this fight. Azzy is going to get hit with that thunk. Heel's going to come out from Squishy Flap, keep him safe. But I love this aggression. I love this play style from them. It's just calculated. Just don't worry, guys. We know what's coming down the barrel here. One of you is going to make a misplay, and we're going to kill you, and we're going to take your inhibitor.
Nazgul leaps forward, uses the black hole. Not much value. He's going to have to cancel this really early if he wants to get out of the Make It Rain. They're saying we're not going for the inhibitor right here. It's just NATO and Leo Grande, but the trio of Nazgul, Splinter, and Reflect are the one in the front line. Reflect is in a very bad situation. The Stasis Gem is there, and he's not going to be able to kept alive. The inhibitor did fall, so a prime objective was just taken here, but Twin Blast goes down underneath his core. I was about to say the safety of his core, but there is no safety provided. Nothing keeps you safe from Reborn at this stage of the game. And now they're continuing to try to get more kills. They're continuing to tear apart that in one more wave. And with these kills, Reflect got taken out, maybe, but 4 members of Reborn alive. The waves pushing in, and this is going to be the water filling up. They've been treading water. One more wave has been treading water, but Reborn are finally going to be able to submerge their opponents, drown them, and victory obtained by Reborn in game number 1.
Yeah, great game out of Reborn there. They played that perfectly. 2 baits under the Orb Prime, and the way this team collapses, the way these guys play together is really, really impressive to watch. So congratulations to Reborn. NATO 6, 60 card power, Obamacare only sitting at 47 card power. Those abilities to isolate a target and pick up those kills really played out well for the side of Reborn and NATO 6. I reckon this target's about to die.
NATO 6 went 13-0 and 11.
Yeah, that's
a performance. That's a hell of a performance.
He didn't mess up is at all there. So well done.
Emphasis on the
that was game number 1. This is a best of 3, guys. We're down to best